Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for my TikTok people to turn up. My big audience is on TikTok. So if you turn up on here, you usually come from TikTok. I'll get into YouTube one day. I'll figure it out one day. Oh, hello. I was just talking to YouTube. Not YouTube, but anyone who was on there. Actually, no one's on there, so my audience is really on TikTok. Anyway, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. Oh, TikTok's changed. Things look different. You know how they restyle things? And I look different. I look darker. They've changed something. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, everything just looks darker, not as bright. Or is that just me? Looks like it's nighttime almost. Anyway, okay. So while we're waiting, where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So I'd love to know where you're from. I usually wait till I get about 100 maybe people turned up before I get going with your parenting questions. So yeah, I won't be answering those for about another minute. I'm just always fascinated to hear where people are from. England, hello. Meraki Decor, hello. England, I've been there a very short period of time. I think I just did a stop over there years back in 1980. So you live with Santa? Okay, where are you from while we're waiting? Canada. Hello, Canada. I'm Canadian too, and I'm also Australian. Whereabouts in Canada are you from? Ohio. Oh, hello. Oh, hell. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Hotel. What does that mean? Michigan, Saskatchewan. Been to Saskatchewan. My dad was from Saskatoon. Back in the day. Oh, Toronto. Yeah, they didn't have any. He was born 1922. Hotter than hello in Ohio. Saskatoon. Yeah, my dad, they lived on a farm and he was born in 1922. They didn't have any indoor plumbing. And they used to have to tie the rope around their waist to go to the outhouse in a snowstorm, or else they'd just die in a snowstorm, right? Imagine that, eh? I guess they had like pots, chamber pots, I'm assuming, I don't know. Edmonton. Hi, Edmonton. I always thought Edmonton was at the very top of Alberta, but it's not. It's not that far away from Calgary. Like in my mind, it was like right at the top, but it's not. I've never been to Edmonton. Stony Creek, Ontario. Don't know where that is. Okay, how many people? Oh, I'm still gonna wait. I've only got like 32 people here so far. I usually wait till I get maybe 60 to 100. Okay. Oh, yesterday I was on here and I had internet problems, so I just disappeared. I didn't leave by my own accord. I just disappeared. Toronto, another Toronto. Okay, so let's get going now. If you look at my link above, the Bratbusters link, if you look in there, it's got everything on there I've got to offer. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my parenting courses, or download my free behavior board. You're on that too. That's what makes it work. So let's get going here. Parenting questions. Okay, best way to get my almost 2-year-old off the bottle, throws his sippy cups. Yeah, just hold it. Okay, if toddlers are throwing things and you want them to have it, like food or sippy cups, you hold it. Do not give it to them. You hold it. And if they have a fit, they'll eventually drink when they're thirsty enough. I'm sure it's possible, maybe, but I've never heard of a child dying of thirst because they refuse to hold the sippy, or they refuse to let you hold it. You know what I'm saying? It's just a battle of wills. How long can they hold out? How long can you hold out? That's your challenge. England. Hello, England. Oh, you've already said that. I've already seen you. Ami, Toronto. Okay, so more parenting questions. I'm just waiting for that now. Going on a trip with my yeah, I don't really give advice to anyone other than parents, because if the parents don't like what I tell you, they don't like it. But if you're in charge and you're taking a trip with your nephew, you just ignore tantrums. I've got tons of videos on that, and But yeah, just look at my videos. It's really important to ignore the crazy stuff and reward the calm. But if it's on a plane, geez, that's tough. You know why? Because maybe their ears have popped and, it's tough on a plane. I don't like it when people, um, I don't like it when people ask me questions about traveling, like on a plane, because you're trapped. What can you do? It's tough. Like it's kind of, especially with a toddler, like they're going to scream. They're going to, I can't prevent any of that. And I had a toddler. He didn't scream, but I just fed him. He loved milk. I just fed him milk after milk after milk after milk. And, but yeah, I did anything to keep him quiet on that flight because we did a 24-hour flight from Australia to Canada. It was a nightmare. He was 18 months old. He didn't sleep. He didn't sleep for 24 hours. Ways to get 3-year-old to stop hitting me. I actually have a course on that if you're interested. 3 or toddlers who hit, kick, whatever. And but yeah, every time they do, you just say no, and you push them away or you walk away. You physically restrain them. If you push them away, they come at you again. You physically restrain them. Hold them here and here, down at your side, so you're both facing forward. It's harder for them to bite you, headbutt, and kick you in that position. So just hold them till they start to calm down. Let them go. Give them another chance to stop hitting you. Let them go, and then hold them again if they keep hitting. It's who's going to win the battle. It's one of those. You just have to win. If you let them win this kind of stuff, they are in charge. Thoughts on cry it out method. Is it traumatic or no? I don't know what you mean by cry it out. It can be, you mean cried out because they've been hit in the head by something, or cried out because they're having a tantrum, or, and by the way, tantrums aren't crying. They're anger screams. They're different. So cry it out would be if they're trying to sleep. I don't know. In what context do you mean cried out? I don't know. Yeah, tantrums are not crying. They're just anger screams. That's why you ignore them. Germany. Hi, Germany. I was in Oktoberfest in 1980. Pardon me, 1980. I went to Oktoberfest. I love Germany, but we did so many countries on the train. We just flew through them all. It's too fast. I think we did 6 countries in 7 days. Crazy. We were young, How can I get my almost 2-year-old to stop hitting me or anyone else? Oh, I just did a thing on that. I just talked about that. I actually have a course on it too, if you're interested, but I don't want to answer that one because I just answered another question on that. So, and other people are on here that probably don't want to hear all the same stuff. How to teach toddlers appreciation? You mean how to teach a toddler how to be grateful? I haven't got a clue. Wouldn't have a clue. You're stepping ahead of their comprehension there. Like they'll when they get older they will, but not a toddler, no. I try to you mean restrain, and it does not work. She will hit me and has some force. You might want to hire me for that. If you physically can't restrain them, and there's a lot of different things I do. I just give you the TikTok answers on here. Coaching is more, it's more comprehensive. But if you want my help, you have to hire me for that, because I'd have to find out what kind of parent you are, what were you doing in the past, how old is she, how big is she, what is it, you know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of stuff. I have to assess the situation before I can give you advice. So what if a toddler cries while throwing a tantrum? How can you tell? Tantrums are not crying. They're just anger screams. There's just a huge difference between the two. They look very similar, but one is in anger, crying is in sadness, and it's just different. It's just different. And also, tantrums are a result of not getting what they want. Crying when they're upset is because they're not getting what they need. There's a difference. You meet their needs and manage their wants. Geez, I could go on about this forever. I love it when I get child psychologists for clients. They want to know all my reasoning behind everything. And I usually say, don't waste your time and your money on that initially. Wait, because it usually gets answered as we go along. So wait till the very last session, and then they have a lot fewer questions than they would have had in the first week. But they want to know the reasoning behind that. Yeah, anger screams are very different from crying. They may sound the same, but you know why it started. You know why. Like, you know the source of that. So that's how you assess it. Did they just not get what they wanted? If they're not getting what they need, which is, anyway, I won't go into it all. You don't really want to hear me go on about that, do you? I could go on forever, but I'm very choosy about what I go on about because I don't want to bore you. Yeah, when my kids bite me, I bite them back and never had an issue since. It's not my recommended method, and I obviously can't teach that kind of stuff. Like I never did that, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth kind of stuff. But yeah, it can work. It can work. The problem is that, yeah, it can work. I'm not poo-pooing it at all. But the problem is as they get older, that kind of stuff doesn't work. It's just one mean thing and another mean thing. It doesn't, it doesn't, it can, but it doesn't always work. It's a short-term solution potentially. Well, sleep training with the cried out method. Yeah, I did that with my kids. Um, it was, my son was about, I don't know, like about a year. No, he was younger. He was probably 10 months or something. And I thought, he's waking up in the middle of the night for a feed and he wasn't doing much feeding. So I thought this has to end. He would only get up once. And it's probably about 8 months maybe. And I thought, yeah, he's just having fun here. He's not even feeding really. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I did it, sleep training. I said, that's it. You stay in bed. I went in a few times because I pat him on the back just to let him know I'm still here. And then I shut his door and I went down on the floor. I sat right outside his bedroom door and I had a pillow and I sobbed into it while he was crying. But I only had one night like that. It was awful. Do I recommend it? I don't know. It's one of those things. Do it if you want, but it's not one of my black and white things. Do this, do that. I'm very opinionated with some things. That one, if you can't do it, don't do it. Tell us how you really feel. Very hard for me not to. I can't not say what I'm thinking. Like what I mean is it's hard for me to sugarcoat stuff and be politically correct. It's very difficult for me. Okay, I love when you rant and never get bored. No one's ever said that to me. Okay. That's not true. Years and years ago, I lived in Australia for 20 years. That's where my kids were born and raised. And this happened more than once. People, because I used to teach aerobics, so I was up speaking a lot, and and oftentimes it happened like quite a few times. People came up to me. Two things that happened to me when I was teaching aerobics. One of them said, "I could just listen to you talk forever. I love your accent." And then the other one was, I get when I'm leading a class, like I can be quite funny. I was always class clown growing up in that. And I got offered twice. I got offered by owners of comedy clubs to do a spot, like a comedy, like a stand-up comic. And I said, no, that's not my thing, right? No, it's not my thing at all. Anyway, I couldn't do it. And plus, it didn't really fit into my mothering mode because I'd have to do a spot at like 11 o'clock at night. I'd already been asleep for 2 hours by the time I would have got on because they put the newbies at the very end of the night when everyone's drunk. So yeah, I would never want to do that anyway. It's not my thing. Get toddlers to get along, stop hitting each other. You're not training them to get along. You're teaching yourself how to manage them. So you make sure that they each have something to play with and you watch them like a hawk. When they go for the other kid's toy, you say no. And because they're all about consistent corrective actions, not words. You can't teach them to get along. You can just teach them to eventually they'll refrain from grabbing what the other one has. That's about all you can do. Toddlers don't know how to share. They're not there yet. Mentally, they're not there yet. When does that happen? 3, it's social pressure. 3, because usually they're out somewhere at that point, like at daycare or preschool or kindy or whatever you want to call it. My kids went to gym daycare from a very young age. They learned to share from a very young age because social pressure, if they had ever grabbed anything, they were both very gentle little kids, but social pressure teaches that kind of stuff to kids. It's not so much that they want to share, they just learn that there's some real social stuff that goes on with sharing. And also if you grab something, someone might belt you right in the face. That's what I mean by social pressure. They learn that, hey, wait, if I just grab whatever I want, I might get hit. Because there's always older kids, and there are hitters everywhere too, and they will belt your kids if they grab something. So I'm not saying it's a great way to learn, but that's how a lot of kids learn. What do we do when a rule is broken outside the home? You're the exact same parent no matter where you are. And you say to them, I didn't like that, so when we get home, we'll be discussing it later, like when we get home. So you defer the punishment, but you address it. You address the bad behavior. I didn't like that. We're going to discuss that when we get home. Do you understand? So, and then they'll get used to the fact that, wait a minute, when I'm out, I'm still going to be punished. It's just deferred. Actually, deferred punishment's really good because they sweat and you get to think. Like it gives them time to sweat about the punishment and you time to think about it. Okay. 2 and 3-year-old boys to stop trying to choke each other. We've tried everything. And you're gonna have to hire me for that if you've tried everything. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what kind of parents you are. So yeah. And you gotta be really involved in that kind of stuff too. It's not just a matter of you fix it and then you walk away. It's you got to be involved in this process. You got to set up a system. You got to be managing them, coaching them along the way. It's a full on process. But once you've taught them that, especially the 3-year-old, yeah, the 2-year-old's watching the 3-year-old too. The 3-year-old, I won't go into it. You have to hire me if you want my help with that, because it's not a quick fix. It's a process. Yeah, you got a 2-year-old who gets angry and is always banging his head on things. They just don't understand that. Get them a foam helmet. Lots of my clients have done that. And the kids will eventually learn that when I start doing this, that helmet goes on. They don't like it. So they will eventually learn. They learn through consistent corrective actions because toddlers learn through repetition, not words, it's actions and it's repetition. You got to do it probably 50 times before they clue in, right? Because they don't learn through reasoning. They learn through like a knee-jerk reaction. If they touch a hot oven enough times, they'll learn not to touch it. But they don't think it through so much. It's a different learning. I know because if some of my clients are child psychologists and they've told me what it is, but I can never remember. And it wouldn't sound like me if I said it anyway. They learn differently. It's more of a knee-jerk reaction, like an instinctual kind of learning, not a thought process learning. I've got that all wrong. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Anyway, that's why it takes them time. They don't learn the first time. They don't stop and think before they act. They act on urges, not thought processes. Okay, you're going to hate me, and I can just tell. And that's fine by me. Consequences, punishments don't work long term, doesn't help core issue, doesn't show caring. What are you talking about? I'm not for you. You're going to have to move on. Okay. How do I take the sippy cup away? What do you mean? You mean they're carrying it around everywhere they go? I don't know what you mean by that. Like, I don't know what you mean by that. Do I really have to take every little thing away as soon as my 3-year-old starts throwing it around? Well, a 3-year-old goes on the behavior board. So the behavior board says if you throw things, there's going to be a consequence. So it might be media blackout. You might have to go there. So check it out. I've got a free behavior board up there if you want my help. So yeah, 3-year-olds are on the behavior board. A toddler under 3 is consistent corrective actions. They learn how to reason and think before they act when they're 3. That's why I use the behavior board. Can't use that on a 2-year-old. No, like wean the child off of sippy cups. My kids could have been on sippy cups till they were 16 years old. I could have cared less. So you want them drinking out of a normal cup? What's the rush? Why does that bother you? My kids had those little straw cup things, and lots of adults use those now. So I don't know why you don't like that. Like, why don't you like that? You want them just drinking out of that? I didn't want my kids doing that. So I don't know why it's important to you. I mean, you might have a very good reason. I just don't know what it is. Um, okay. My 2-year-old throws whatever she has in hand and grabs something and throws it. How can I fix this? Repetition. Every time they throw something, take it away. And then 2-year-old, you might want to even just sit and read a book. Say no whenever you take something away and they're having an absolute fit. Sit and read a book off to the side, their book out loud. I don't like to do that with 2-year-olds, but if they're doing it constantly, I usually stop this at about 16 months old, where it's sort of diversion, but it's sort of a passive diversion. So if they're doing it constantly, they're having a fit, they're just throwing everything and it's going on for hours or whatever, Just sit in a corner and read their favorite book out loud to yourself. Do not look at them. Read it to yourself. Eventually, they might just crawl into your lap. You're teaching them, you're diverting them away from that. Yeah, it's not a great method, but it's okay. Bum, 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 bum. Do you think around 3 years old is the time to start introducing them to consequences? Absolutely. Like we all learn that way. If we don't pay our rent, we're kicked out. If we speed, we get a ticket. If we hit someone, we get hit back. Like it's all life's about consequences. Think about it. Everything in life is about consequences. When you're talking to someone and you say something mean, they're probably going to say something mean back. All of your words and actions are attached to consequences, good or bad. And I believe in karma. I believe you get back what you put out. I really do. I think it might be a slow burn, but I really believe you get back what you put out. So watch what you put out there. But yeah, I really believe in that. Oh, okay, Ashley. Yeah, she's got you figured out. Yeah, I wouldn't care if they would spit. I'd be prepared for it. Every time I get a sippy cup, I'd also get like rags and everything. She can spit all she wants. She's not getting the bottle. She's not holding on to that. You see what I mean? Like, just be prepared to manage the situation. You're managing it. I don't care what they do. I never care what they do. I only care what I do. So I'm like, if they're spitting, and believe I've looked after hundreds of kids, and if they're spitting and they just don't like something, I'm always going to win. Always, because you're the leader. They rely on that. When you're a good leader, and you got to be fun too, right? So when you're a good leader and you're meeting all their needs are food, water, love, fun, all that good stuff. But then when you lay down the law, they want the fun one back. They want fun Lisa back or fun mom back. So why would they keep acting out if they get the serious one, the quiet one? That's why I call it calm leadership. You're calm when you're disciplining. Disciplining, you meet their needs and manage their wants. Disciplining is all about their wants, not their needs. Okay. Yeah, they soon learn. They just do. They know, they pick up on who means business. When I say something, I'm following through. I would never give in. Once I say something, it's happening. So yeah, there's no way I would worry about them spitting up. I don't care what they do. I care what I do. You lead, they will follow. It's just the way it is, because they're very drawn to a leader. You're fun. You bring out the best in them. You know what? You're in charge. You make them feel safe. I should tell my grade 2 story with my son. No, that's a different story. Wait a minute. Which one is it? Oh, it was a different, I think grade 2. Oops. I got an appointment coming up. I think it was the same grade. Anyway, all of us moms were called in to do groups with kids, and I was always making jokes about how much I hated kids. It was just everyone laughed, so I kept saying it. Yeah, I can't stand kids, blah, blah, blah. I don't go into it, but I used to use all these crazy jokes. So everyone was, it was because I was always class clown. So anyway, it got laughs, so I was always laughing, talking about how rotten I am. And because I was at school pretty much every day helping teachers with difficult kids, just volunteering, right? I loved it. Anyway, but I didn't want to, I kind of like to act tough. So anyway, we went into class and all the other moms were saying, well, none of the kids are going to want to be in Lisa's group because she hates kids. Ha ha, we're all laughing. So we go in there and all the kids wanted to be in my group right away. And the moms were so confused. So anyway, because I knew how to manage kids, but when you're a good leader, they want to be around you. They like themselves when they're with you. It's like, have you ever had a mentor, someone that you look up to? It's like that. You want to please them. They're fun. They like you. Yeah, it's just all positive, positive, positive. But that leader also knows how to take care of business if you do something wrong. Anyway, so we had all these little groups around, and it was chaos. All the different activities were just chaos. My group was lovely. They're all sitting there, and the moms are all confused, like, how is she doing this? This is my thing, right? This is what I do. And anyways, the fire alarm went. It was not scheduled. Some rotten kid had pulled it, right? So anyway, the fire alarm, and all the kids were scared. Those kids did not run to the teacher or their moms. They all ran to me. Why would they run to me? Why would they run to me and not the teacher and not their moms? Why would they run to me? They felt safe. I'm a leader, and they knew it. It makes them feel safe. Not that they like me more or love me or anything. They just felt safe with me. That's what leadership does for kids. It makes them feel safe. And they're going to tell you everything right throughout those years, right through the teen years. They're going to tell you everything because you're a safe place to land. Anyway, it's all good stuff. It's good stuff. Hmm. A lot of bedtime stuff. I know I keep saying I'm going to get that course done. I just haven't got time. Anyway, bedtime. What I do, at, how old are they? 2? Okay. I'll just tell you what I did with my own kids. And and what I recommend to people. My kids went in their own beds. As soon as they flipped out and landed on the floor, that was it. I disassembled the cot. Or in Australia, it's called a cot. All my baby terms are Australian because that's where I raised my kids. Anyway, I disassembled their cribs or cots if you're in Australia or England. And then I just put the mattress on the floor and I put pillows around it. So what I said was, okay, and they were about 2, I guess. I don't know, probably a bit younger, actually. And so I said, okay, you stay in bed. And they already kind of knew me, so they didn't get up a lot. But with parents who their kids aren't listening to them, I just said, you're staying in bed now. And every time they get out of bed, this is what you do. The first time they get out of bed, you said, I said it's bedtime. You put them back to bed. And they may just be kicking and screaming. That's okay. Remember, don't worry about what they're doing. Just you follow through with your leadership. Anyway, then the second time they get out of bed, you say one word, bedtime. Put them back in bed. Every time after that, no eye contact, no words. You've already made your message very clear. Okay. And you just go, it might take 50 to 100 times. It might go on for hours. You just keep putting them back to bed. They will eventually fall asleep. You can overpower a 2-year-old. You can do that all night and they can't. So they'll just eventually learn. That's it. That's how you keep them in bed. It's tough. It just is. Also, one thing I recommend too is have like something fun. Like my kids didn't mind the dark or anything. They weren't afraid of it. So, but if they are, use the galaxy lamps or sound machines or anything that makes them feel safe in their room. If they don't feel safe, if they truly are scared, you will know that. That's a different thing. Oh, super nanny, other people. I don't know anybody else. So I stay in my own lane. So because I'm kids taught me all this. I've never looked at anyone else what they teach. The only person I've ever seen that's a parenting expert is Super Nanny because I was asked to do a similar show on the big network, right? And it was for teenagers because that's my specialty is teenagers. And I was asked to do that, and they said watch the Super Nanny show. It's the same premise, the same what do they call it? Not recipe, the same whatever. Anyway, and they said watch that because it's like that. And I thought there's no freaking way I can embarrass teenagers on national TV. They'd kill themselves the next day. And I said I can't do it. The only way I could do it is if I had total control over what went out there on the content. They kicked me to the curb like you wouldn't, so fast it was unreal. Anyway, I've been asked twice to do it and I turned it. I couldn't, they're not going to give me creative control. They want all that. They want all the drama. And I couldn't imagine another person who specializes in teenagers agreeing to that because those teenagers could go out and off themselves the next day after being humiliated. So that Super Nanny, the only reason I've ever seen her show, and I purposely stay away from watching other people. So if I am criticizing a method, I don't know who teaches it because I couldn't do that. Anyway, and we have very different styles because I always say, if you're going to follow one person, just follow one person. Don't mix up our methods. They're meant to be used as a package deal, as one method. You got to follow everything I say and not include someone else because you're going to water it down. It just doesn't work. Like if you were to throw timeout into my method, my calm leadership stuff, I teach leadership. If you were to throw timeout into my method, it would tank. I hate timeout. I think it's mean. It's humiliating. I would never do it. So I teach leadership, right? Give respect to get it. I think it's very disrespectful. Imagine if your boss, if you made a mistake and your boss said, go sit in a corner for 5 minutes, it's humiliating. But this is people say, but Super Nanny does that. Yeah, she has her own method. She knows how to get respect. She knows how to get respect, but she has her own method. Okay. Anyway, so that's the only person I know. And that's because of the TV offering. Okay. Yeah, and if you're going to pick someone to watch, get parenting advice from, there's 2 criteria. There's no way I would take advice from anyone without these 2 criteria. One is they have to have finished the job with their own kids. If all they have is little kids, how do they know what kind of teenagers they're going to end up being? How do you know if what you're investing today is going to work tomorrow? You have no idea, right? It's just, you can't come from that place and teach parenting. I just don't agree with that. Anyway, that's one. Also, you might just have really easy kids like I did. I got respect when my kids were tiny and sailed right through the teen years. So how could I teach teenage stuff that's difficult or whatever? So make sure they've had tons of experience with hundreds of other kids with all sorts of challenges, autism, behavioral issues, physical disabilities, abuse backgrounds, trauma. They have to, it's experience based. It's heavily experience based. I'm sure there's lots of other people out there like that too, who have that level of experience. That's what it takes. Anyway, I'm sure there's other people out there too. They just get it too. Kids swearing. Okay, age 4. No swearing goes, or I like to put no bad words, goes on the behavior board, and there's a consequence. Look at the behavior board. It's free. It's up there in the link. Just check it out, and it's free. It'll tell you how to do that. So what do you do other than timeout? 2-year-old, consistent corrective actions. It's consistent corrective actions. Every time they do something, you say no, and you take that toy away, remove them from the fun, remove the fun from them. It has to be every single time though. I don't know why. They don't seem to remember when you do everything right. It's when you do something wrong, they just remember that for some reason. So you mess up and you miss it once, they're going to remember that. It's going to take longer. So it's consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. But you got to be consistent, and it's an action, not words. One word, no, that's sufficient. And when I'm disciplining, this is my tone of voice. No. Like it's not angry. It's just no. Like as if they're crazy for doing it. And as they get older, it's like, what are you doing? Like, sort of like, it's almost surprise, but no. Sugar. What time is it? Yeah, I'm going to have to get going soon. That's why I hate reward charts, because I can't stand them. Reward charts are sending this message to your children. You're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a gold star. You see the message? A behavior board says you're normally wonderful. If you should happen to do something rotten, I know how to deal with it. There's a consequence. Make time out, time in, where you sit away with it. I don't teach that, but yeah. Yeah, but I mean, lots of people talk amongst themselves in here. Sometimes I can't help but look and see what you're talking. Yeah, consequences. In coaching, that can be tricky. If my examples in the behavior board, which is free, if that's not enough, you have to hire me, and I'll have to customize them to your family. Oftentimes I come out with stuff and I think, I never would have thought of that. But it's because I'm working with a family and I'm learning their lifestyle and that. So we often come up with really strange stuff that no point me sharing here because it's so specific to them. So yeah, that's coaching. If the behavior board isn't enough, the courses aren't enough, then you'd have to hire me. There's a whole course, has a whole bunch of examples on how to give respect to get it in 5 weeks. That's 3 to 12-year-old. Okay, how to help, oh God, you're not gonna like my answer. How to help 14-year-old keep his room clean. My son was 15 years old, and we were really close, and we had a great relationship. And he was upset one day with me, and I said, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "You've been a really difficult mom." I was floored. I thought it was great. So I said, "Why?" And he says, "Because I've got nothing to rebel against. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to." That, I didn't see that coming. And I said, "Fine, go clean your room." And he never did. Rebellion taken care of. You don't sweat the small stuff, only the big stuff. I had 2 rules with his room: no dirty laundry in there and no food or drink in there. But other than that, yeah, it was a mess. But you got to give him something. You got to give him something. And by the way, I'm not OCD, A lot of people think I am, but I'm not OCD. I know my daughter's OCD. I know what OCD is. I always thought I was, but now that she has it, I get it. It's different. But yeah, the thing is, I'm very fussy. So for me to let my kids keep their rooms however they wanted, I just let it go. I had to let it go. So yeah, you got to let some stuff go. That's really important with teenagers. So fine, rebellion taken care of. My son got to rebel because he got to keep a messy room. There you go. Imagine that. He needed to rebel. I didn't see that coming at all. Woo. My daughter never did, but he obviously needed it. And they're all different, right? Like I was quite different with both my kids because I'm a real goofball, and my daughter was more on the serious side. My son was more like me. We're just always sarcastic and coming up with something funny, whereas my daughter just not as much that way. So I mean, she's got a great sense of humor, but it's not like that. So, like for example, I used to hide under my son's bed and grab his ankles when he came by. I just scared the bejeebies out of him. He loved it. I love stuff like that. But then he became a teenager and he got real good at doing that stuff to me. And I'll tell you, I couldn't complain about it because I tortured him his whole life. And then it backfired big time when he was a teenager. Oh, God, he was good at it. But my daughter, I never did that to. She didn't like it. So, that was, you just have different relationships with each child. Okay, my toddler doesn't stop telling me to shut up, go away, and says I don't care to everyone. Yeah, he's just in charge. I don't know how old he is, but I do have a whole course if you want to learn how to get respect in 5 weeks. Even if they're 2, that course starts at 3. So you can't necessarily do everything in there, but it'll give you a good idea of where you're headed. So the toddler stuff is all consistent corrective actions. But yeah, at 3, the behavior board starts. But yeah, that's a tell. They just don't respect you. You're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills. And that doesn't happen. You never fix kids. You're fixing yourself here because you lead and they will follow. It's a natural instinct for children to need, crave, and want a leader. They just do. Once you're a leader at home, you're a safe place to land. They're going to tell you everything right through the teen years because you're a safe place to land. You're a good listener. So when you get good at this, they are not susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians, no one else, because they'll always see you as the leader. They're always going to come to you. So yeah, like I was never bullied. My mom was a leader. My dad wasn't. He was the pleaser. He was the one I could get away with murder. But if I asked my dad something that I knew mom wouldn't like, he'd say, oh, I'll go ask mom. And I go, never mind. Mom was the leader. Okay. So yeah, I was never bullied. You're not impressionable if you've already got a leader. Does that make sense? Like when you're a kid, you're not impressionable when you've already got a good leader, someone who makes you feel great about yourself. You can tell anything to. Does that make sense? That's your goal. That's what leadership's all about. Oh, I'm going to have to get going. I've got an appointment. Okay, I got to get going because I got to prepare for an appointment. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow. Check out my link above. It's everything I've got to offer is in there. My free behavior board, my courses, and then my coaching if you're interested. So we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye now.